The typical process for finding a cash-secured put goes something like this. You open the option chain. You look through and scroll among different strikes. Once you've picked a strike, what do you base your next step on? You check the chart. If the chart convinces you and the chart agrees, what do you do next? Well, you go check the calculation on the calculator. And if the calculator doesn't work in your favor, you go back and repeat the process, look for another asset. You search in the options chain and you might be doing this for 30 or 40 minutes. After all that time, you end up opening a position that's not the best just because you're tired of searching. I'm going to show you how I do all of this on a single screen in less than 2 minutes. The first thing we're going to define is what we're looking for. In this case, I'm going to create a screener that's very simple, but we can make it any way we want. So let's create the first part. In this case, I'm going to set certain parameters that I want for this screener. The first will be the days to expiration. I'm going to look for between 30 and 45 days until expiration. Then I'll set the delta at which I want to sell my puts. I'm going to set it between 15 and 0.25. Next, in this case, I'm going to set a minimum analyzed value, and I will set anything from 15%. I'm also going to add that all the options should expire before earnings. I am also going to select a minimum IV rank level. Let's filter a bit more and choose companies that are profitable. We are going to select companies that are above the 200-period moving average. And that's it. Now we can search. I am going to apply the filter. Now we can see that it has given us 67 results. This is in a total of 25 tickers. What does this mean? That we can have different selling options on the same ticker, as we can see here. Now let's see what data I will be able to read on the same screen without going to another table. The credit tells me how much is the minimum I would receive for selling this premium, in this case 0.62, if I trade it at the bid. And if I trade it at the mid 0.76, I have the return I would get in 38 days. Which if traded at the bid would be 4.13 and at the mid 5.07. I have the analyzed value, which would be 39.7 at the bid and 48.7 at the mid. I will have all the liquidity details, exactly the bid and ask of the contract, the spread between the bid and the ask, the open interest, the volume. At the top, I will be able to see the strike, the delta, and the probability that it ends up out of the money. In the middle section of this panel, I will be able to see very valuable things about the company that save me from having to go to another tab, to another table, to check them. Let's see what it shows us. The first part it shows us is vision strength, which is the strength this company currently has. As we can see, it has some strength, but it's weak. It has a 4. Then we see vision rotation, which is exactly in which sector and in which industry the company is and how it is currently rated. We can see that HL is in materials and metals and mining. Then on this same screen, I can see the IV rank, the implied volatility, the technical part, which is the RSI, ATR, the relative volume, the beta, and I can also see the fundamentals of the company. On the chart section, I have very valuable information that helps me make a much quicker decision. We can clearly see the strike that you are suggesting, which is the 15 strike, as we can see here. It shows me the break-even we have, which in this case would be 1438. I have the expiration date. And I have the expiration cone to see if the move or the strike I'm choosing is outside or inside the move. Expected. If I click on this button we have here, I'll be able to see a bit more data without having to leave this screen. As you can see, when you click, this pop-up simply opens, and I can see the same data a bit more in detail. And I can also see exactly the vision rotation, which will show us how the sector is doing, where it is located. This is its sector. This right here is its industry. And this shows the movement of all the stocks in the same industry. So I can check exactly how the stocks in the same industry are behaving. Now for the easy part, just by clicking the down button, I can go from chart to chart and I will be able to see very clearly which prime is the one I want to sell. Let's see how we go from chart to chart, and we'll see how the strikes are arranged in different stocks. For example, in this case, we see that in MU it gives us 2 options with different expiration dates, different credit, different return, and different analysis. So I just go from one to another, and we will see how the strikes will change, or they will stay the same, or the expiration date is the one that will move. We'll see how they change. And there you can notice how both the expiration date and the break-even have been modified. If you like the setup, you just save it by clicking this button. In this case, I'm going to save it as top 1. Now, every time you want to look for a cash-secured put, you just click Load Filter and you'll select one of your scanners that you already have saved. If every week you waste time jumping between tabs to find puts, this changes your process. One screen, one workflow, less than 2 minutes.